Hi and welcome to another Origami Expressions video. In this one I'm going to show you how to make this. Fans of the TV series and the films will know it as the Starship Enterprise. The designers Asghar, Malik and Hart have kindly given me permission to demonstrate how to make this model, so if you're ready, here we go. Okay, so normally for the Starship Enterprise I would recommend using a white sheet of paper because that's what colour the Starship Enterprise is in the films and the TV series. I'm using a sheet of silver paper because it should show up the creases rather better. So this Starship Enterprise model is based on a bird base, so if you know how to fold one of those then please go ahead and do that and rejoin the video later on. If you're not sure how to fold a bird base or you just want to follow along, then we'll get started with that. So we'll begin by folding the diagonals. So fold the first diagonal. Try and make it reasonably accurate. Obviously the more accurate you make your folds, the better your finished model is going to be. So that's the first diagonal. You unfold that and fold the second diagonal. Clearly I've got a slightly inaccurate diagonal there. My piece of paper is exactly square, but I can work around that. Unfold the diagonals, unfold the paper rather, turn the piece of paper over, and this time we're going to fold side to side. A book fold. I've never liked that description, but I suppose it's as good as any other. So there we go. That's the first one. We'll unfold that. And the second one we will fold side to side again in the other direction. And this one we will leave folded. So, there we go, just try and get that reasonably accurate. There we go. Now, turning the piece of paper this way, we are going to take hold of the paper on both sides and just swivel the paper edges together so that all the open points line up. So all four of the corners of the square line up, and then we can squash it flat. Now while I'm just going to kind of reinforce those creases a bit so that it all lines up nicely. Now while I'm folding this, I'm going to keep the piece of paper oriented this way round. So I've got the open points, you can see you've got one there and then two kind of middle bits and another one underneath. I'm going to keep it this way round. I might rotate the paper while I'm actually folding it, but then after each step, for reference, I will turn the piece of paper back round this way again so you can see what we're going to do. Now we're going to fold from the top layer only, this edge to the middle line and this edge to the middle line. Not the point, that's wrong. So we're going to fold the edge to the middle line like this. As I said, I'm going to rotate the paper around because I personally find this slightly easier direction to fold in. I think you get a slightly more accurate fold. So there we have it like that. And we're going to do the same on this side. So we take the top layer, and fold that one in. The open points are still at this end, remember? So this is where they're all joined up, and this is where they're all still open. So now we're going to fold this point here down as far as it will go along this line. So along the top of the edges that you have just folded. So I'm going to turn it round as I say, and fold in that direction because I think folding so that you can see over the top of the crease, I think is a slightly more accurate way of folding. Turn it back round again. Now I'm going to unfold this top triangle, and I'm going to unfold these two pieces here. Right, now we're going to rearrange the layers so that this point here ends up all the way over there. But we're not going to put any new folds in the paper. That's an important point here. We're not adding any new folds to the paper. All we're going to do is rearrange the layers. So we're going to take the top layer here. You can see it's just the top layer. The other ones are still underneath. Okay, so we're just taking the top layer and we're going to fold it along this line here. Okay, so we're going to this is going to go and fold along this line here. As we do, you'll see that the sides will want to come in and form a diamond. So we take the top layer only, just the top layer, fold it along this line here. That's all we're doing. Just lift that in that direction, and you can see that the sides want to come in. They want to go back the other direction. So we're going to let them do that. So we'll squash that one down and we'll squash that one down. Okay? No new creases, but remember this is all creases that you've already made. You might need to put your finger in here and just kind of ease the paper a bit. But that will squash down on the crease that you've already made. And then with a bit of encouragement, you can reverse the direction of these two creases you've already made here, and the piece of paper will lay down flat. Okay? If you're not sure what's happened there, I will show you on the other side. So we'll turn the piece of paper over. The open points are down here again, as before. So we'll fold this edge and this edge to the central line. So now you can see that you have an edge underneath to line that up with. So we can fold that to the central line, lining up with the edge underneath, like that. And do the same on this side. There we go. We lined up with the edge underneath again. Now we're going to fold this triangle here along the edge there. So down as far as it will go. Make that crease and then fold it back up. Now let's open these two layers here. Now if you think a bit about it, let's actually have a little look at the mechanics of this fold, because that might explain to you, if you're not familiar with the bird base, as to what's actually going on. When we look at this flap here, you can see it's actually got two layers. Okay, so when we fold up just the top layer, then effectively we're reforming this triangle into the middle, but we're doing it so that this bit here, this layer here, goes to the middle, and this layer here goes to the middle but on the other side. It becomes a kind of mirror image, really, a kind of reflection. So that should kind of give you an idea of the mechanics behind what's going on. So we're going to lift just the top layer. So you can see we've got two little legs down here now. So we've just lifted the top layer. We're going to fold it along this edge. So lift it up, fold along that edge, just that edge. This is no new creases, remember. So we push it along that edge. You can see that the sides want to come in. Okay, so we will let them. And we'll squash those two bits down to the middle as they were before. Okay, now if we just ease the paper so that it will relay on the creases that you've already got there, and the whole thing will form that diamond. You might need to give a bit of encouragement, but that's all you're doing. No new creases, all you've done is just rearrange the layers. Right, that is a bird base. So let's just kind of tidy up some of those creases. I'm going to keep it this way around again. So as you see, we have the two open legs at the bottom, and we have two tall flaps and one smaller flap at the top. Right, next thing to do is to narrow the bird base. So we're going to, like we did before, we're going to take on this top flap here, we're going to take this edge and fold it along the middle line. And then we will take this edge and fold it along the middle line. Okay? Now don't fold all the way to the middle line, because you're going to want to fold it in half in a minute, and otherwise you'll end up with too many layers of paper. So I reckon about 2 millimeters away from the middle line. Okay. So if I fold it like maybe to somewhere nearer to the point at the bottom, yeah, I reckon. There you go, you can see that I have left just a little gap down there. We'll do the same thing on this side. Paper doesn't really want to go where I want it to go, but we'll kind of encourage it, and that's fine. There we go. There we are. And we'll do the same thing on the other side. So now you can obviously just match this flap to match the one underneath. Like that, and like that. So you have a thinner bird base. If you are going to make a traditional crane, that would look pretty familiar to you. Okay, let's take the top left layer and we'll fold it all the way over and encourage that to lay as close along the central line as you possibly can. You might have to just kind of encourage these layers here to go and make sure that they are nice and tight and precise. Get a good fold there. Turn the whole thing over and do it again. So the left layer over to the right. And again, just try and encourage those things to lay as close to the central middle line as you possibly can. So that we try and preserve that sense of accuracy there. Okay, that's good. Now what we're going to do, I beg your pardon, I've actually missed a step. Let's reverse that back round again. So we'll fold that back over to the right, turn it over, and fold that back over to the right. I do apologise, missed a step. Right, we're going to fold this leg, if you like, up out here, so that this middle edge here touches that point there, so the base of that little triangle. So we're going to fold it from as far up as it will go, and this edge will lie along there. So actually no, it won't. It'll lie along that point there, beg your pardon. So it's of this triangle here, it's the top point. So that edge goes up there like that. So, and a good firm crease. Okay, this is starting to look like a traditional crane, people are thinking. Yes, it is at this point, but that's not what we're going to do with it. So we're going to fold that back down and do the same thing with the other leg, if you like. So this bit folds up to touch that point there, the top, not the bottom, I beg your pardon, the top of this little triangle to touch that point there along this edge. So up as far as it will go and touch that point there. And then make that crease nice and strong. Yeah, that's good. Fold that back down again. Right, this time we take the left-hand layer and we fold it over and turn it over and take the left-hand layer and fold it over. Kind of make sure that they are as nice and precise as possible. So that's good. Right, you can see here that we have a kind of arrowhead of creases. We have a kind of arrowhead here of creases here. So we're going to fold up from where, make another fold that kind of joins the bottom of the arrowhead, if you like, to fold this point up. Now we're not going all the way to the top, that's wrong. We're only folding up from here and here. So that will be like, it should lie along the middle line again. Now you can see that I've got a slight inaccuracy in my point here. I'm not particularly worried about that because I'll fix that later. Okay, so you can see that that's gone up, not quite to the top. Right, so we're going to turn the model over and do the same thing. This time, of course, you can see that you line it up with the one underneath. And again, you can see that my point at the top there is not particularly accurate, but I'm not that fussed about that. I can kind of smooth it out a bit, but I'm not that fussed because I will be fixing that later and that point will be hidden. Then we reverse what we did a moment ago. So we're going to take the right hand layer and fold it back over the top to hide that point in the middle. Turn the whole model over and do the same thing. So take the right bit and fold it all the way over to the top, over to the left. So you should have something very similar to what you had earlier, but with these two flaps hidden in the middle. Right, now we're going to take this flap here and we're going to reverse fold it out along the side, but we're not going to line up with the bottom. It's going to line up from where that join is there. You see there is a join in the paper just there. When we're going to, from that point, we're going to make it go straight out on the side so that the bottom edge is parallel with this edge here. So we're going to reach in. This is a bit of a judgment really. So we'll just kind of take it from, you can see where that join point is because there's a line there. There's a crease fold there already. So we're going to take it from there and we're going to put in a reverse fold that sends the edge out like that, adjusting to make it parallel if we need to. If you're not comfortable doing that, and you think that's a bit kind of guesswork like, then the other way of doing it is you open it up, you fold that one all the way down along that line like that, close it back up, and this time you can just kind of swivel it back up again in along the same point to get to the same line. You kind of have to shove it, but that's fine. Right, so there we are. At this point I would say give it all the layers a good squash. Okay, the next thing to do, we're actually going to have to make one fold, but several of the other layers are going to move at the same time. We're going to lay this edge here along that central line. As we do, you'll see that a couple of the other layers of paper underneath will move as we go. So I'm going to put this crease in and you can see what I mean. So we'll take this top edge here to the center line, like that. And as you can see, you've kind of got this triangle forming here. So you're going to want to put your finger in there and just kind of squash fold it. So you put your finger in there and you might have to kind of ease the layers of paper, but it will come and it will squash fold down nice and evenly so that you get exactly the same amount of paper on both sides of that little triangle. Like that. Okay, so we'll just put that there, and we will do the same thing on the other side. So we'll put that crease in, fold into the edge, and you can see the triangle starting to form, show from various different angles. So put your finger in there, form the triangle, arrange the layers a bit, give a bit of encouragement, and it will squash down. Okay, get your fingers in there and make those creases good and firm. Right, at this point my camera is about to run out of battery, so I'm going to pause recording for a moment while I go and plug the camera in. Bear with me, I'll come back to you in just a moment. Okay, apart from that untimely interruption there, I do apologise, let's carry on. So the next fold is another one where several layers of paper are going to move at the same time. What we're going to need to do with this one is this triangle that we've just created here, we're going to unfold. this flap here on top of the triangle will fold over the top of here, and this whole triangle we will narrow. So we will focus on narrowing this triangle, and then we will lay the other parts down in a way that actually that has to happen to make this triangle get narrower. Now, it's a bit of a judgment fold here, so you're going to have to kind of decide roughly how much it is that you like. Basically what we're trying to do here is these are going to become the nacelles or the nacelles of the Starship Enterprise. Please excuse my pronunciation. So it's up to you really how thin or how thick you want the struts supporting the nacelles to be. I'm going to go for about not quite halfway, and I'm going to fold it down to probably about 3/4 of the way down along that flap there. Okay, so you can see that I've not folded all the way down. I've only folded maybe 3/4, maybe 2/3 of the way down, and I've put that fold in there already. So at this end, it's nice and straightforward and simple. You can just create that fold. At this end, we're going to want this flap here. That's this flap here, up just above the triangle. This flap here to fold over the top of there, and this triangle to unfold back down again. So if I take hold of that flap there, you can see the triangle starting to unfold already. So there you go. So I'm going to move that over the top at the same time as laying that crease down, and the triangle will squash and the flap will lay down. You might have to just kind of ease a little more paper out if you need to, out from the inside, just to make that lie nice and flat. But that's fine. So what you'll end up with is that, and you can see the difference between this side and this side. So if we compare the two sides, what we've done is we've narrowed the top flap here, and we've taken this bit over to this side and unfolded that triangle there again. So let's do the same on this side here. So we're going to want it to roughly match. So I reckon maybe about, let's just kind of unfold that out of the way to get a rough idea of how much it is we're folding. Yeah, about that much is good. That's roughly equal. And you can see that what I've done, I've started to put the crease in place. I've started to fold this flap over, and I've started to put that crease in place there. Now I'm going to put my finger and unfold that triangle and push this flap over. And then the whole thing will lay down nice and flat. So the triangle will unfold at the bottom, that will lay down, that flap will lay down, and so will the middle bit. Then it's just a question of reinforcing the creases a bit. Like that. So you can see roughly where we're going with this in terms of narrowing this. So we're going to do the same thing now on the other side. So let's turn the model over. And this time, you can see that as we go through the sequence of steps, you've got folds that you can line up with on this side already. So remember, the first step was to take this edge here and this edge here into the center line. As you do, you can see that you can line it up with the edge that's underneath, like that. And as before, you can see that the process of doing so, this triangle here starts to form. So we're going to lay that down. We're going to put our finger inside the triangle as we need to, and give it a good squash. There we go. Just to kind of reinforce those creases a bit. That's good. And we'll do the same thing on this side here. So it's this edge into the center line, lining up with this edge here. and accepting that as you do, a little triangle will form from this point here. So fold it into the middle, lining up with the edge that's underneath. You see that? Lined up under there. So it's all lined up and nice and neat and precise. Good crease, and you can see that as you do, this triangle starting to form. This one's going to need a bit of encouragement. There we go. Put my thumb in there. Sometimes paper just needs a bit of encouragement to make it go where you want it to go. Don't be scared of it. There we go. Just squash that down like that. Okay, now comes that slightly trickier bit while we narrow the flaps on this side. As I said before, just as we could see what's happening with matching up these creases, you can see here that we have creases on this side that as we fold this side, we can line them up with. So we're going to narrow this flap here, and we're going to make it line up with the crease that's underneath. Okay, so we want these two edges to line up nicely. So let's go ahead and put that crease in. It's easier at this end because there's no other bits of paper that have to move. So there we go. We've lined up the creases on this side, and I'm going to lay it down, and you can see that in order to make this end happen, this flap here has to go over the top of there, and this triangle has to unfold. So we'll unfold the triangle, put my finger in there, push that bit over the top, and lay it down, like that. I'll unfold that again so you can see. There's the triangle. We're going to unfold the triangle. As we do, this bit will push over, and you can encourage the flap to lie flat, and reinforce the creases a bit. And that's what you end up with. You can see it's all nice and close. It's unfolded this point here. That's all nice and thin and aligned. So let's go ahead and do the same on this side. So I'm going to line up this edge here, or this, put a fold in here that lines up with this fold along underneath. So like that, you can see that I've lined the two edges up, well, more or less. And there we go. And at this end, in order to make this lot lie nice and happily, we have to unfold this triangle, unfold that triangle, and you can see that you have to push this piece over the top, like that, and fold the top end of this flap here. Okay, lie it down so I can just reinforce those creases a bit. My nacelle supporting struts have kind of adjusted their angle a bit, so I'm just going to kind of make those nice and stick out properly at the sides again. Okay, that's all four sides done there. Right, it's time now to actually start to form the basic model. So on the top here, we're going to thin this point. So we want to take this edge here to the center line, and this edge here to the center line. So like that, and like that. Okay, so we don't actually need this flap at all. So what we've done by narrowing it just means we can tuck it in out of the way rather better. So we're going to take this flap and fold it all the way down, as far as it will go. So like that. So right down as far as it will go from the base of the little triangle here. Now, you may find, as I have, that you've got two little points here that just stick out past the edge on this side. Now, we don't really want those. If yours don't, that's absolutely fine. Great. It means that you kind of don't have to do this next little bit. But if you do have these two little tiny points here that are sticking out just fractionally, then open it back up again and just fold those in just very slightly, just to get rid of them, just a bit like that. So you can see that we've got rid of it on this side here. We're going to do the same thing on this side here. We just don't want those two little points to stick out. So I'm just kind of folding them in just a little bit, just to get rid of them. And then fold that piece down again as far as it will go, all the way down there. Reinforce that crease. You're going to want that crease to be a nice, good, firm crease there. Like that. If you turn the model over, right, so you're going to want to try and keep this bit, keep the paper as tight as you possibly can here, because otherwise you're going to end up with kind of loose bits of paper flying around on the model, which you don't really want. So we're going to take this point here, and we're going to fold it back up as far as it will go and tuck it underneath these layers here. Okay, so this point here will tuck underneath in here. So I'll show you what I mean. I'll do it nice and close so you can see. It's this point here is going to tuck in there. So it wraps around as tight as you can make it. Tight as you can make it. Reinforce that crease there, and just make sure that you slide it inside those layers there, and squash everything down as tightly as you can, wrapping that triangle around as tightly as you can. You want that to be good and tight, really. You don't want extra paper sticking out at the back here, so you really want to get that nice and pressed in well. Okay. The next thing to do is to fold the model in half so that this triangle is actually on the inside. So just kind of fold that in half all the way like that. You can see, let's take this. Let's have it that way up. Okay. What we need to do next is form the support that deals with the saucer section. So this point here, this edge, this kind of flap here has got to reverse fold up here as far as it will go, including this little triangular point here. So we're going to want to open it up, open it back out again fractionally, put your thumb against this point here, get it right down inside as far as it will go. Don't be scared of it. You're looking to try and get that right in there and fold that up at pretty much a right angle. Pretty much a right angle, like that. Okay. And then, yeah, I'm going to ease that slightly away so that it's slightly better. That sort of angle, I think. It's kind of to taste, really. And then we're going to reverse fold again along this line here. You can see that you have an extra flap on both sides. We want to reverse fold this point out here along that line there. So the easiest thing to do is to just put that crease in along that edge, turn it over and lightly put that crease in on that edge, and then squash it, and you'll find you'll get that bit sticking out at the side. This should be starting to look like quite a familiar shape now. Okay, now it's up to you really when you're folding this and as to which order you do the next bits in, whether you want to make the back part first or the front part first. I actually think it's easy to make the front part first, because that way you can judge the height of the nacelle supports and the length of the nacelles based on where the saucer is. But it's up to you. So we need to open this section out so that it becomes three-dimensional like that. So we have a three-dimensional diamond shape. Make sure you've got a good firm crease here underneath what's going to become the source section of the ship. You want a good firm crease there. So in some sense, maybe it's easy to fold it all the way down, just to kind of reinforce that crease. But you want it to be nice and flat, really. Okay. Now, the next thing to do is to open out these layers on the top here and fold the point here back in the other direction, which I know feels counterintuitive if you're familiar with the design of the Starship Enterprise. But yes, that's what we need to do, because we need to get a nice shape to this saucer section here. So we're going to kind of put a thumb in there and open that out. We'll reach inside and open that section out as well. And then we're going to put a crease in, if you start to open that out, between those 2 points. Okay, so it's a crease in between those 2 points. We've opened it up so that, and we're starting to tug on it a bit, and you can see the paper wants to go. So we're going to open it up, we're going to leave it opened up, we're going to put a crease in between this point here and this point here so that the saucer section goes back on itself. Be careful to keep this as central as you can. So you might need to compare it from different angles, but you want the saucer section to line up nice and centrally. And when you think you've got it, you can just reinforce all the creases. Like that. Now at this point, our Starship Enterprise has got its saucer section facing the wrong way. So what we're going to need to do is this point here is going to need to fold back again. And we're going to fold it not at the point where these 2 points are, about halfway along this edge. So you can see about halfway between this point here and this point here, and halfway along between this point here and this point here, making sure that it stays nice and central. And you can see that it won't quite lie flat. You can get the crease in a long way up, but it won't quite lie flat. To actually make it lie flat, you have to put another crease in, which starts at the base of the saucer section here, and it will just form itself in a way that you need to make the saucer section lie flat. So just need to kind of straighten that crease up a bit. There we go. And just reinforce those creases again so that they're nice, good, and you've got that nice saucer section coming in there. Now we'll shape that saucer section a bit more in just a minute. What we'll do first though is actually just fold this little tip in underneath a bit, keeping it nice and central, so this point lies along the central line. Okay, like that. Turn back over. That's better. Right, the nacelles. Now it's up to you what kind of height you have these. This is a generic model of the Starship Enterprise. This is not supposed to be any specific one. I like them to be about the height of the saucer section. I don't really want them to be kind of sticking all the way up here. I want them to be about this height. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reverse fold these things so that this edge here comes out along this side here, just kind of brushing the top of the saucer section, I reckon. So I'm just going to put my thumb inside here and give that a good squash down like that. I've opened it up and I've squashed it down. So I've opened it up and squashed it down like that, and I'll fold it back up again. So now I have my nacelles are now facing the wrong way, but we'll fix that in just a minute. That's easy. Okay, so we'll do the same thing on the other side. So I'm going to put turn it around. I'm going to put my thumb in there about the height I want the nacelle, open that up and give it a good squash flat. That's about there. And just line that back up. And the two sides should line up with each other pretty accurately if you're a good judge. Okay, now we need to make our nacelles face back the other direction and just tidy them up a bit really. I reckon, about maybe halfway distance between the nacelle support and the saucer section. Yeah, sounds good to me. So we'll just fold that all the way back along the inside, all the way back in there, like that. You can see what we've done. So we folded that all the way back on the inside as a reverse fold like that. And we'll do the same with the other one so that they match. Okay, like that. Now it's up to you whether you leave your nacelles with nice pointy ends, or if, like me, your pointy ends aren't very neat, you can fold them in inside away, and it's up to you then how kind of long you keep your nacelles. I'm gonna fold mine in. I know that Larry, who is one of the people that designed this model, prefers to leave his nice and pointy. I prefer mine to not be pointy. So it's up to you. See how you feel, experiment a bit, come up with your own Starship Enterprise. So I've just kind of tidied the ends of mine up there. Right, the only thing really left to do now is just we need to kind of shape the saucer section, and we need to just kind of shape the body a bit. So what we're going to do to shape the saucer section is, you can see this fold we have here. We're going to want to ease some of the paper back out through there. So if we grab it underneath, put your thumb underneath there, and just kind of roll the paper between your thumb and fingers, just to kind of give that saucer section, let some more of that paper come back through, and give that saucer section a bit more of a kind of 3D quality to it. There we go. Just kind of rearranging the paper and flattening it down as you go. That gives that saucer section a little bit more of kind of a three-dimensional quality to it. So it also means that it's actually sticking at the right sort of angle, instead of kind of sticking up as it was before. Okay, and the only thing left to do is kind of round the body a bit. So it's up to you what sort of angle you want these things at. You could have them angled out at an angle. Oh, I beg your pardon, I forgot one fold here. So I do beg your pardon. So let's unfold the point again. God, really got my nacelles wrong. So on these nacelles here, just fold them back over the top of each other like that, so that they actually appear rounded across the top rather than across the bottom. So if I show you on this side, you can see the one that's where it's rounded, it's still got a hole in the top. On this one, you can see that's a better shape. Okay, that's much better. So we'll do the same on this side as well. And it's just a question of open it up and push it back on itself, turn that into an outside reverse fold. Much better. Okay, then I can kind of make my nacelles not pointy, get better shape there. And just tuck that in there so that, use your fingernails. This is of course assuming you want to have your nacelles not pointy. If you do, then you don't need to do that bit. Okay, now as I was saying, it's up to you whether you want these nacelles to stick out at an angle. You could kind of bend the supports out a bit, or you could leave them like that. You could have them all come all the way out at the sides. It's up to you to see if you kind of shape it how you want to shape it. I personally like to leave them standing up reasonably straight, like that, but I do like to kind of shape the body, and so I'm going to come down the front here, and there's a hole in the front into which you can kind of put your finger and just kind of put your finger in there and just kind of squash underneath and just kind of round the body a bit, so we kind of get a bit more of a rounded shape to the body, and then just kind of reinforce that rounded shape of the body all the way along. So kind of you have to kind of shove it a bit, but we'll kind of reinforce that rounded shape all the way along the body on both sides. And when you've done it, there is your very own Starship Enterprise. And there you go, a completed Starship Enterprise. Thanks to the designers, Asghar, Malik and Larry Hart, for their permission to make this video. I hope you enjoyed folding it and you were able to follow along. For more information on this model or any of the other models that I've folded, please see my website, origamiexpressions.com. You'll also find me on Instagram, Twitter and Pinterest. The links are coming up on your screen in just a minute. Thanks for watching.